A blast from the past in this brand new pixel nostalgic heavy JRPG Knights of Greyfang. Knights of the Greyfang is a pixel-based JRPG that takes players on a vampire adventure developed by Exe Create and published as well by KEMCO. Knights of Greyfang takes players into the land of Eldraad, which is currently in a war between humans and monsters, each vying for control of the 9 mystical temples that holds the deity stones. Players take on the role of waifu vampire knights, wielding unique abilities and battling enemies in a turn-based grid combat. The game features a unique blood gauge system that replaces traditional HP and MP that you expect in most RPGs. It kind of reminds me a bit of the limit break system that you will notice in like Final Fantasy games, and players can equip bats that enhances each character and give power-ups. With this engaging story, the strategic combat, the charming visuals, Knights of the Greyfang is a captivating adventure for JRPG fans, but I do want to dig a little bit deeper into the gameplay overview. Knights of the Greyfang's gameplay takes players back on a trip down memory lane. As the way the game is played feels like the 90s JRPG, just modern, my impressions immediately was the fact of a dated format but still timeless overall, and I'm still having fun during my time playing this game. I love games who could take our childhood and redo it into the current generation. The gameplay of Knights of Greyfang focuses on a turn-based grid battle system. The grid system plays into the positioning of your party and specific moves that can use the grid to attack enemies. Turn-based combat party is up to 4 members, and you can also, check out the turn order at the top of the screen. You can also position your team between the front or the back line. Depending if they're in the front, they would get a boost to their damage. If they're in the back line, they get a boost to their defense. By using a bit of strategy with the team, and you can set up combos that can maximize the optimization of your team. But during combat, you can choose skills, you can defend, or you can attack regularly. The skills basically follows under a elemental affinity system. You'll notice that every enemy has a element to them, like wind, water, earth, fire. Pretty much this is a rock, paper, scissors system that you'll see in a lot of gacha games as well. I am currently playing this on PC. Yes, I do know Knights of Greyfang is available for everything, but it's definitely, I've seen this a lot in a lot of gacha games. You can also use the skill that the enemy is weak to deal stupid amounts of damage, and vice versa. If they're strong against that ability, and then it will do neutral or little to no damage. There is an auto feature for combat, which you will see in a lot of other mobile games as well. At this point for the games, I am not too shocked that there's some form of an auto to do auto combat. Basically do all the skills and attacks for you, which is a quick way of AFK grinding, so to speak. Especially when you're coming across the dungeons, which I'll talk about later. The dungeons, they have an encounter system. But continue on with the combat though, there is a unique mechanic that have lore implications, which I love when mechanics have some form of tied into the actual lore of the game, but they call it the blood gauge. Now the blood gauge system is another mechanic that your vampire party can utilize from the blooder named Theo. He's the 4th person in your team. Basically, by utilizing him and his power, you can enhance your skills and make you more powerful. This system, like I said earlier in the video, it reminds me of a limit break system in Final Fantasy. As a last-ditch effort to save the party, unleash powerful attacks. The bloodthirst system is more pointed to your actual vampire knights, which basically helps from using the blood gauge, gives your skills a given boost or enhancement. And lore wise, it just makes the vampires stronger because they need a blooder to become more powerful for knights. Now, I did speak about dungeons a little bit earlier, but let's go a little bit deeper into that. The dungeons are, of course, in any JRPG. The mechanics, there's about 2 for these particular game. It's the Demon Stone and as well as the teleportation. The Demon Stone, you can walk up to it. Essentially, what you can do is change the percentage of the encounter rate of the enemies that you will come across, attract them, then you could farm them. Higher the percentage, the more harder they get, but it doesn't really get that too difficult, and I'll speak about that a little later. But you also, have the teleportation stones, which teleportation stones allow you to teleport to and from the dungeon as where you find them. During the dungeon challenge runs, of course, you could change the encounter rate, change the percentage, but you could do a maximum challenge of up to 3 consecutive runs that I've seen so far. So farming that, I leveled up pretty quickly. I got a lot of cool items in that particular dungeon. Now, while you're out and about doing questing and missions, you will notice another big thing. Traveling in between towns and dungeons, you get the overworld, which is the map of the land, and you can traverse this and have random encounters. Similar to games like the early days of Pokemon or other Final Fantasy games, while traveling at every few steps, you'll come across random encounters with enemies. That is practically the overview of the gameplay that players can expect, but let's talk about the visuals and overall sound design. That I feel like these two really set the scene and tone for this nostalgic trip that you'll be probably going on. Upon first playing the game, the music really sets the tone of this game with a beautiful upbeat 16-bit melody. Even to give you more nostalgia, the tunes that play when you have the victory screen and the victory pose the team makes is complete bliss. It sounds beautiful and it really makes my heart jump. I grew up watching all my other favorite JRPGs do the exact same thing, and watching devs really pay homage to those old days but still try to keep it some form of modern. It's basically like a keystone for turn-based games. During gameplay, the way the game is played can give you the vibe of Chrono Trigger isometric visuals. The combat music is also pretty fast and intense, really give you that nice good feel of battle. I've noticed also the cutscenes are rather long, which if you actually sit down and listen to the cutscenes, it does definitely help the world building of this world and helping players understand what is exactly going on, where you're kind of getting thrown right in the middle of this war. And that's definitely a anime manga type deal, just it really exploring the developmental process of every character and their backstory, going really deep into it. All characters pretty much pop up like the most visual games you are used to if you play visual novels. That type of cutscene, the 2D character model pops up, text underneath, very simple stuff. You read a text, there is no voice acting in the game. I haven't heard anything since I've been playing. But moving on to my last final verdict regarding Knights of Greyfang.
Hey, I'm just trying to find my place.
Knights of Greyfang is a trip to the past for the JRPG genre that offers players a new world and revamped turn-based combat, adding to an enjoyable experience. With the combat being fun and a bit of a strategy to it, and the beautiful pixel graphics and a very simple, easy, clean war story of light versus dark. The sound design and soundtrack is probably by far my most favorite thing in this game, and by far my favorite thing in many video games. Despite having an auto combat, the difficulty is non-existent. This game is pretty easy. The game has a lot of strengths. I felt the absolute amount of relaxation while playing this game. It was definitely a vibe. I caught a vibe playing. Between the music and the easy fights, it's definitely not on the insane difficulty levels that most JRPGs can definitely go under. And with how easy it is for me to level up, I suggest this as a decent JRPG for people who are new to the series that want to still get that nostalgic feel, but somehow don't have an emulator that can't play the older games like Golden Sun, Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, X, Y, and Z. This is a great way to really truly get that vibe you're feeling. There's many more JRPGs. I've covered plenty of them. If you want another JRPG to get into, then I suggest playing this video here, or I'll leave a card here on the video. But as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. It's been your host, KICTV, here at Chaotic Inc., signing out. Peace.
Manifest. I don't sleep, that's so weak, don't plan to rest. I'm from a hood where you die if you don't pack a vest. No culinary degrees, but whipping crack the best. Chefing, hard times taught lessons. Praying every night to pull up in park Benzes. What's my home is what you call trenches. You wouldn't last a day seeing life through all lenses. It's all tension, no sun, and rain and plenty. Full-time job, still can never make a penny. I ain't